That was amazing. I'm fired up. Okay. Guys, thank you for being here. I want to compliment each of you just for taking time and making the trip and scheduling the weekend and being here present today. I know that for me, I love these environments. I mean, I've sat in environments like this where I've been in your seat way more often than I've been the person sharing. And what I love about this is I love being poured into. I love people speaking life into me, whether it's one-on-one or it's right now kind of somebody seminar style, whether there's 1,000 people and I'm one of the 1,000, or it's a small group like this. So you have a choice right now to actually do something about the stuff that you're learning, but just be in this moment and be grateful for it. Be grateful for Spencer and Jeremy, for them investing in you, for them taking the time out of their busy lives with their families to create this weekend, to create this moment, and truly pour themselves into you. Because this is not common. This is not what most people do. I know a lot of people that own gyms. I know a lot of people that lead teams that just don't do this type of thing. So be grateful for that. Be present right now. And right now, we're going to shift gears and talk a little bit about sales, right? So the words that they spoke are great. And you need to have all of that in your life. But in reality, if you just don't have sales or the ability to sell something, then all of it is just going to stay with you and you're not going to infect others with it. You're not going to actually pass this passion on, pass these things to other people. So the first part that I'm going to talk about is the mindset that you need to have. You have to equip yourself with the right mindset or else you're not going to transfer anything. And then we'll talk a little bit about what it means to lead nurture or follow up, actually consults and sitting with people and talking to them about what their goals are. And lastly, retention, because if you're good at sales, but then every single client that you sign up has a length of engagement that's less than 90 days, then you obviously don't understand retention. So I will get into that, but first I want to talk about the mindset. So think about anything that you like and love, right? Whether it's like a specific brand of clothes that you wear, or a restaurant that you go to, or a phone, a pen, it doesn't matter. Basically, the reason that thing exists is because sales were made. A lot of sales were made. And it's not just the transactional sale, it's actually the buildup to the sale, right? Somebody had to sell somebody to print that thing or produce that thing or manufacture that thing. And I would argue that anything you love, right, in the terms of product, service, had to overcome a ton of rejection and a ton of obstacles for you to even get to the point where you love it. So it's a must. It's an absolute must. And if you learn this skill set, if you really master this craft, you're never going to be hungry. Like you're always going to have not just enough, you're going to have abundance. You're going to have absolutely more than you want. And not just money, but in life. You're going to have more friends than you'd ever wanted, right? You're going to win way more often than you lose. But at the same time, you're going to have more money than you've ever had before because you're going to learn how to sell something. This is how movements are made. CrossFit is a movement. It's actually, in my opinion, the parallel that I've thought of is what would have been or is the early church, right? It all started very small and individual, and it grew and it spread. And regardless of what your feelings are about church, faith, religion, it's everywhere, right? And CrossFit, in really not that long, 2 decades, maybe a little over, you can go anywhere in the world, and you can work out at a CrossFit gym, and it's probably going to feel a lot like the gym at where you are. It might not be exactly the same. I mean, this is a huge facility. Obviously, some are nicer than others. We went to Cabo and worked out at a gym, and I mean, it's CrossFit, right? And that's beautiful, but why? Because somebody sold something, right? Like, this was not just Greg Glassman, not just the early adopters. People doing CrossFit, they're not looking at it as sales, but they're selling it. They're selling this type of workout, right? They're selling this idea to someone else, and that's how this thing spread like wildfire. So just my ask is to respect sales. Respect what it can do and the power that it has. So my story, obviously my team probably knows more of it than those that don't know me. I started as a personal trainer in 2003, and I was working for someone and fell in love with, I was just starting my fitness journey shortly before that, and really fell in love with the relational aspect of private training. Working out is great. I am very passionate about working out. But I wouldn't be doing this now for over 2 decades if it wasn't for the relationship aspect of private training. Because the way I view personal training is just an excuse to hang out with my friends. A very productive way for us to do fellowship and to do life together. When I'm not private training, it's like I'm probably more isolated and lonely in terms of friendships than when I am private training. So my private training clients are actually the closest people, right, apart from my family, in my life. So I started as a personal trainer. The guy that I worked for made me a deal. He was a personal trainer. He said, I charge $50 an hour. We'll charge $35 for you. You give me $20. I was like, okay. I was working the front desk, making $8 an hour. And so I thought, man, that's like a 2x income. Yes. So I was paying him $20. I was making $15, charging $35 an hour without a personal training certification. Shh. Well, as time would go on, I'm a junior at Texas A&M. Within a year, I was private training 30 to 35 hours per week. I was going to school. I'm a senior, not taking easy courses. I had anatomy. I had exercise physiology. I got a degree in sport management. I was taking finance. I had labs, probably taking 16 hours. Oh, I had a girlfriend. She's here. Woohoo! Yeah. And you can ask her. I mean, I was either training clients, in class, writing workouts, or working out. Absolutely loved my schedule. My roommates, who were living college, right, on several occasions were still awake when I would be going to train my 5 a.m. client from the night before. I was on a whole nother level. Like, I look at myself then, I'm like, nobody's doing this, right? Like, even today. I went 5 years, so I did 5 full years at Texas A&M. By my 5th year, I was private training 45 to 50 hours per week regularly. Like, that was my normal. And going to school. And then when I graduated, I had to do an internship right before I finished. So sport management has a track that has an internship or a track that doesn't have an internship. All my friends were kind of looking at internships. They have people come speak about internships. And I heard from the primary person, instructor, that I could create an internship. So I talked to my boss, and I told him that I could create an internship. And we created an internship through that place. And guess what that allowed me to do? More personal training. Because I didn't have to do any actual internship. I mean, he signed the papers that need to be signed. Well, now I'm going up to about 60, 65 hours a week of personal training. Why? Because I don't have to go to school. It's like I got more time. So I'm more time, more clients. Everybody I trained stayed. Nobody left. There's people that I trained back then who still train at BoomFit with other trainers. 2 decades. And I had Christmas parties just for my clients. They're like some of the most memorable memories of Christmas parties you can imagine. That last kind of stint, that summer, I wanted to continue doing what I was doing. The person I was working for had decided to change some of our previous agreements. And I don't think this is bad about him, but he was learning how to build a business. And for those reasons, at that moment in August of 2005, I chose to leave and start my own business. But I often say that if I was in the right environment, I wasn't necessarily somebody who just said since I was young, I'm going to go open my own gym. I had zero desire for that. If I'm completely honest, I was 23 years old, absolutely loving what I was doing, absolutely loving who I was working for, and I would have loved him to even give me a larger title, or I didn't need more money. I was happy with what I was making. I was working so much, and I had zero costs. I mean, I had no kids. Alicia was my girlfriend. She was not my wife. It was like you live so cheap when you're 23, 24 years old compared to now. And so at that time, the reason I left were simply for probably lack of communication and clarity early on in the hiring process. So I've learned, like, let's be super clear. Let's create really good systems. Let's create a compensation plan that's not necessarily unreasonable for the owner or unreasonable for the trainer, so that somebody could build a career at BoomFit, because at that time, that's the only reason I left. So when I left, I had 23 personal training clients. And that just tells you how often they were training with me. 22 of them came with me. Only one did not, because the owner had said that I was going to move and that person agreed to continue training with them. So now I'm at a new environment. I was not in a private training environment. I was at a gym. I remember I ran for a kind of like a student body position a few years before that, and people had colors associated with their campaigns. And I remember hearing red is a power color. And this is truth, right? There's energy, and I'm going to talk about energy that you give off, right? Some of you give, everybody heard of vibes, right? Good vibes. Those are vibrations, right? This is quantum physics. You actually are putting off vibrations into the world, especially those around you. Red is a power color. So I went to Academy and I bought 5 red Nike t-shirts. And I wore a red shirt. And now I'm in a gym, so there's a bunch of people that see me in a red shirt training people. All of a sudden, I come out of nowhere. I'm busy. I have clients. So people start asking me, do you have any availability? Or you this and that. And so I really had very limited availability. But at the peak in September of 2005, I was doing 72 hours a week of private training. Not burnt out, not complaining. I loved it. It was truly what I love to do. But I also realized that by the end of September, okay, something's about to happen. I'm either going to have to start saying no, or I need to find a way to scale this thing. So that's when I hired the first trainer, right? And the rest is history. So I say that, why was I successful if we're measuring success based off my calendar? It's because what I'm going to tell you tonight or today is sales. And it was not formal. It was not scripted. It was not, an SOP. It was raw, but it was authentic. And people were drawn to it. And over time, it looks different. Right? I'm not 23 anymore. Obviously now I'm a gym owner. I have a team. It's just evolved. But at the core, it's the same thing. So if I have any ability to be up here, just take that part of my story and apply it to where you are right now. Because really, it's not that we're much different. You've carved time, you've been here, you have clients, you're passionate about what you do. We have a lot more in common, all of us, than I'm this anomaly, because I'm not. Any of you can have what you want. You can have the schedule that you want. You can make the amount of income that you want. You can work with the types of people that you want to work with. It's not just Charlie or just Spencer or just Jeremy. So let's start with mindset. It's a buzzword, right? Recently through the Enlifted certification, I love how they defined mindset, because they define mindset as the story you tell yourself. And I think that's so simple and so beautiful. So your mindset, by definition, is simply the story you tell yourself. So I want to challenge you right now. What's the story you tell yourself about sales? Truly, like, what is the story? Like, speak up. I want to hear at least 3 people tell me what your mindset is about sales.
Usually I tell people it's my least favorite part of my job.
Okay. Everybody hear that for the people in the back? Yeah. He tells people, right, the power of your words. It's my least favorite part of the job. Thank you. Thank you. All right, who else?
Not sexy.
Not sexy. I mean, are we in the, do you want things to be sexy or not sexy? Don't say that out loud. But he's basically saying it's not sexy, right? The power of your words. What else? One more.
Feels greedy.
Feels greedy. Oh, this is so good. My heart rate, not because of this C4, is thumping.
Charlie, tell them about your Monopoly.
Hey, okay, so I think it's very reasonable to think that if 3 people, the first 3 people that said what the mindset, the story they share about sales, is those 3 things, that there's a large percentage of people in this room that feel the same way. And I will give you permission to feel that way, right? I'm not here to judge how you think. I'm simply here to share, because ultimately I can't change your mindset. I'm not that powerful. Only you can have a moment in time where things change, and that it doesn't instantly change your life, right? It takes time. Who wanted to raise their rates? Okay, Marcel. What? Let's hear about it. What's currently what does that mean? You have the opportunity right now to say out loud what you want to do, which is step number 1 to making change in your life. Okay, share. What does that mean?
To raise my rate.
Yes, give me more. What does that mean?
That I value my time.
Okay, I value my time. Let's do more like actionable. Like, I charge this and I want to charge this.
I currently charge $110. I want to charge $135.
110 for,
Hour.
and I want to charge
135.
135. Okay. Raising your rate. So she currently charges $110 per hour, and now she wants to charge $135 per hour. Regardless of what that means, right? It could be a massage therapist. It could be a doctor. It could be a therapist. It could be a personal trainer. It could be a health coach. It doesn't matter. It's going to start with conviction. That's it. Conviction. What is your conviction? Not only about how much money you deserve to make per hour, but also on what it is that you're offering another person. Very easy illustration. This can, right, branded, you go to a gas station, some gas stations are going to charge you $3, other gas stations are going to cost you $4. Sometimes they're going to run some promotions, but they agree with themselves that the value of this is $3 or $4. And guess what? The market has accepted that belief system so much that the company is valued at $2.9 billion, right? So we would say that's actually the customer agrees with the value and the business has created a value that's worth it. So when you charge, that's it. Because it's also about the customers accepting your fee. But I will tell you, in the business we're in, it's not this. It's not this. This is flavor, can, what is it doing inside of my body? But what you charge for is invisible. It's invisible. That's it. It's invisible. That makes you limitless in what you can charge. So guess who it comes down to? You. Are you worth it? And I believe in energy. I believe that you have energy when you walk into a room. A prime example of this is if you're in a serious relationship or marriage, and you get home. You bring the energy in of what you have either been thinking, feeling. Let's use an easy example. You've had a bad day. And you walk in the room. And the other person could have just had a great day. But when you walk in, what's going to happen? You're going to bring it all down. You're going to kill the vibes in the home. So let's just agree that you are bringing some energy into every conversation that you have. From the moment you start thinking, I'm going to raise my rates, is there any conviction associated with that, or is it just me throwing something at the wall and hoping that it sticks? Because I will say right now, goals are a lot like this. I mean, I'll give my own vulnerable example. I just did my 3rd Ironman. And it took me 2 hours longer than the one last year. And I have a specific goal in mind that one day I would love to run a 4-hour marathon in the Ironman. I've done that without the 112-mile bike ahead, but that's just a little goal. It's really hard for me after 3 Ironmans to get this conviction that I can do it. Vulnerability. Y'all feel that? I'm not going to cry. That was a joke. Because I've done a 4-hour 40-hour marathon, a 4-hour 50-hour marathon, and I just did a 5-hour 15-hour marathon. So it's a great goal. It sounds really cool, especially if you're a runner. If you don't know a marathon, then I just said Chinese, basically. But it has no conviction because guess what's lacking? My belief. That's very important. And that infects your energy. So if you say you want to charge $135 an hour, but you have absolutely no conviction associated with it, you deserve it, that you're worth it, you're not going to get that. I mean, I'm sorry, the no is already been established. I'll use the Monopoly example last night. We played Monopoly. And I don't even know if anybody in our circle picked up on this, but Caleb would agree that I made a trade that established the game early on. And when I made the trade, I was convinced of the trade happening. And I created the environment to ensure that I would get what I wanted. And if you watch the videotape of us playing, I did not ask for the trade, did I? I told Bennett what to do. And did you do it?
We did it.
And I'm not bragging, okay? This is not me saying, hey, no. This is me hopefully giving you tools because truly all of you are going into these sales opportunities every day and you're losing because your energy's wrong. Because there's no conviction. Because you're asking, you're not telling. And it never came across offensive, and I didn't brag afterwards, because that's not what it's about. I had an objective. I wanted to win the game. And many of you want to win in not just your ability to help people, because you wouldn't even be hired by the coaches that you or the owners that you work for if you didn't have the right reason for doing this. And I like to say this in sales trainings because we're not just here to make money, take advantage of people, do this skeezy sales stuff. No, you're doing this with the right energy in that aspect. And because of that, the opportunity should be excessive. In other words, there's more opportunity for you, but you lack the right energy in the sales process. So in other words, a prerequisite to this talk is being a coach, being in this industry for the right reasons. But I don't have to give that talk because I already know, because who you work for, that that's established. Your passion is contagious. And I would challenge you to reflect on you and actually ask yourself, do I embody what I'm selling? Do I live what I'm asking other people to do? Because guess what? Your rate goes up. Not because you look good. That is the least of it. Because your daily habits establish your conviction. The only reason I can speak boldly when it comes to health, fitness, wellness is because I am doing it 365 days a year, 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. I have a theory. You cannot hold people accountable to something you don't personally do. It's just not possible. Why? Because at the core of who you are, you desire to live in integrity. Whether you do or not is completely up to you. That's the external. But it is really hard for you to either speak of, hold others to standards. I'm talking about clients, I'm talking about peers, of things that you don't do. We are in a time at 2024 and going into 2025 where the need for what we do, this room, like Jeremy said, could change the freaking world. This room, right now, the demand for what we do. Imagine we are in 2006 and we are the beginners of establishing the new iPhone, just the beginning of the iPhone. In the world of iPhones, over the last 2 decades, that has revolutionized the world. Would you all agree? Nod your heads. This is very revolutionary. The people that were in the room in the beginning are the responsible parties for this movement. That is what we are embarking in this space of health, fitness, and wellness. You're in the right place. You're doing the exact right thing. The longer you do it, the more educated you become, the easier it's going to be to help others. Some of you are so brilliant in your ability to coach people and program for people that there is very little to no preparation needed. And you can put somebody through a phenomenal 60-minute, 30-minute workout and keep them on track because your brain and your past experiences have created your ability to do that. There's trainers that are just getting certified today, and that's great. And we need them, that are decades behind you. There's a 10,000 hour principle. In order to become an expert, in order to become somebody who can change the world, having 10,000 hours in that industry. You guys are those people. They're just catching up. And if we're honest, it starts in the beginning. Spencer alluded to this, performance-based, right? I want to look good with my shirt off. And it's not like those things leave, so I don't want to make it sound like now you don't care about those things. But you're elevating in your ability now to understand what it is that we're dealing with in health and fitness and wellness, and now you're transferring that. Behavior, right? Social fitness, right? How are we interacting with other people? Healthy relationships, mental health. What else is going on inside? We're not just doing Fran because we want our time to go down. If somebody were to ask me what my motive for the Ironman is, it's my mental health. You know, I take a lot of pharmaceuticals. It's just none of them are pills. It's practices. I mean, I literally have a laundry list of things that I do that would be considered pharmaceuticals, but they're not ingestible. This is not about money. It's not about money. If we're honest, nobody really wants a ton of money. Like, that's not what you want. You want the things that money can buy you, right? Maybe it's a vacation. Maybe it's a new car. Maybe it's a home. Maybe it's stuff, right? But the money, the actual money, I mean, these days it's truly it's invisible. Like nobody's carrying cash. I mean, everything is invisible. It's like either card, Venmo. So we're dealing with this thing that we've made out to be this very big deal, but it's not even like we're handing it back and forth. Going back to mindset, going back to the definition of mindset, everybody in this room has a relationship with money. That's going to influence the topic of sales. Your relationship with money, it's important to identify what it is, where it came from, what it was rooted in, where it began. So I'm going to give you an example. So for me, I grew up with my parents split at an early age. We lived with my mom. She did not work. My dad wrote a check every month for child support for me and my two brothers, 3 kids, for $1,800. With that $1,800, she needed to provide for our family, right? I was 6, 7, 8 years old. I had no idea. I just saw the check one time. So that's why I know it was $1,800. And that was what she had to live off of. So I remember going to the grocery store on occasions and my mom buying stuff. And I always wanted Gushers. True story. I always wanted certain things. Like Gushers just stand out to me that we didn't get. The Cokes, but they were not branded Cokes. They were the off-brand, were hidden in the closet. And I loved soft drinks. And so my story that I told myself my whole childhood basically was, we don't have, we can't afford, right? That was it. That theme. Well, as soon as I start learning at a very young age about making money, like how to make money, right? When I work, I remember my dad said, he'd drop off trash bags and he'd say, every full bag of moss, you guys familiar with moss in trees, that I fill with my brothers, we'd get $10. And there was moss all through the pine trees and everywhere. So guess what I was doing? Filling bags. I go to he has a plumbing company. I would work. And I would figure out ways, obviously, to work. Even more creative than the actual way he wanted to pay me in the beginning. I started going from counting parts in the parts department to selling breakfast to the plumbers, then going out in the trucks, and then I started mowing yards. At one point I'm juggling multiple different jobs because I just wanted to make money. And the story that I was telling myself, and what led honestly to what I call the unhealthy relationship with money, was that I just wanted more. I wanted more because I didn't have. So understand, right? It's kind of like the trauma that Jeremy went through and the lack of, and then the desire for. Those things matter. They are connected. And we have to understand those things in order to either heal or move forward. This led to the training, right? The work, the money. I mean, I had more money in college than anybody my age. I mean, I had cash back when people actually paid cash, right? Just like tons of it. Not brag. I mean, I'm just serious. Just, it's like Grant Cardone says, it ain't bragging if it's true. So much that I paid cash at 24 years old for a new Tahoe. 3 years later, I bought an Escalade. Now, it went too much the other way because it wasn't healthy. I was doing it for the wrong reasons. It was almost like I was finding security in that. And I've had to navigate my relationship with money so much that it was probably 7 years ago. I was on a mountain in Colorado on a retreat, and it was a moment where I had felt so a prisoner to money. Like I was literally a slave. I was in bondage. And a lot of my stress, most to all my stress was coming from that relationship because I had an unhealthy relationship with money that I truly desired to not have to interact with it anymore. Like if I could make one wish in that moment at the top of this mountain, and I grabbed this rock, and it was basically taking this idol of money and just chunking it over the ledge. And if I could have one wish, it would be that, man, I just want to work. I want to do what I do. And I want to go to HEB and then just give me what I want. And then I go and it was to just live without, but guess what? It's not possible. I have to actually learn how to interact with it. I have to learn how to have a healthy relationship with it. I share that extended version of my relationship with money to help you, prompt you to actually think about what your relationship is with money. Because it is having an infection, it's like a virus that has actually embedded itself into the ability to sell something. Just because you can't afford something doesn't mean other people can't afford something. That's like elementary school sales. But guess what? Some people, that's why they can't sell anything. That's truly like I mean, it's like, I can't sell $135 an hour because I would never pay $135 an hour. Not here to say that's bad or judge that thought, but you are having to you got to deal with your money story, and we're not going to do that in this talk. Only you can do that with you. I want to speak into you right now because you have everything that you need. You have a passion. You have a gift. You have the ability to exercise that passion in the environment that you're in. If I told somebody, I'm going to give you a phenomenal home gym, I mean, it could be nice or it could be basic. Would we agree that they have everything they need to execute their fitness journey? Yeah. They got a rower, a bike, rack, dumbbells. I mean, we would probably almost say, like, they actually have more than enough. Like, you don't even need that. You guys have the most outfitted home gym on the planet to make whatever amount of money you want to make because you work at phenomenal gyms. You have the keys to the freaking kingdom. So if you're not making that, the variable is you. It's you. So I want you to have a visualization moment. Close your eyes. And I want words from you right now to penetrate your mind and zoom out 10 years. So if you're 30, right now you're 40. If you're 25, right now you're 35. If you're 40, right now you're 50. What is in this area, in this morning, the things that are being spoken, what is future you telling current you? Focus your mind, clear out any other noise, and just listen to you speaking to you. Take a deep breath. Give that version of you permission to speak truth and life. Now, open your eyes and write down anything that stood out. Could be a word, could be a sentence, anything that would be something that would remind you of that mini conversation you had with yourself. I'm not saying this is what future you said, but I got to think some future you said, get off your ass. You're too comfortable. You're sleeping on a soft pillow with a warm blanket, and you have more in you. It's like if the 50-year-old version of me said, you know, you can't do a 4-hour marathon because you're just slacking in your training. And the future me is like, look, we actually have done it like 6 times. But the you version of you right now, number one, you have a limited belief because you're not training the way that you have potential to train for this thing. If you really want to do a 4-hour marathon, you know how to do it, Charlie. And just so you know, 50-year-old version or 52-year-old version of you, you're going to hit that goal. So we'll get there together. So don't worry. So there's a little bit of that balance, right? It's not just like they're calling me out, but they're also me, so I can receive it very well. And they're just saying, look, you're just too comfortable. You like going out for your zone 2, easy long runs and listen to your podcasts and breathing and, you know, never pushing yourself. But guess what, Charlie? We're going to hit that goal. Don't you worry. You're going to be okay. And you need that right now. Like, that's actually better for you than what we're going to do in a couple years because you're going to ramp it up and you're going to hit your 4-hour marathon. And the you're going to be okay is actually a really good thing that the future you can tell you. So right now we're going to do a small exercise, no closing eyes, no reference. But think about you right now, and in the last 10 years, have you gotten hurt physically from exercise? Very likely there's a large percentage of people in this room that have. And guess what? Are you okay today? Like, are you fine? Like, can you go down and work out? And there might be a smarter version of you today than that version of you. But the fact that you're okay tells you a really good thing. Like the future you or the current you would be like, hey, I know that time when you literally couldn't tie your shoes and you questioned what you're doing and you weren't sure if you could ever do it again. You're actually going to be just fine. Like, don't worry. Like, it's going to take a little bit of time. You actually are going to become a little bit smarter about the way you train, and you'll be fine. So there needs to be some of that. Like, you need to have a little bit of that. Like, you're going to be okay. You're going to be fine, but there's probably a lot more that you can be doing. And you're probably not doing it very well, if we're honest. And you're probably not living up to your potential. So let's now transition into what I'm going to say is things that you need to be really freaking good at. And I freaking don't want to say the wrong word because when I share things that I'm passionate about and the language that I use sometimes comes out, it's not me, it's just the energy that I have because I want you guys to take something away. Because you're missing it in these 3 areas. You're missing it. And these are foundational. It would be like warming up before you work out is a must to prevent injury. It would be like eating healthy if you want to lose body fat, right? It would be like showing love to your children. Like, those are things that we all agree you should be doing, right? If you're in those positions. We're going to talk about consults, lead nurture, and retention. When you're meeting with a prospect or a person, and this is consults 101, it is not about you. Like 0% about how much you know, how great you are, your fitness journey, your credentials, your education, the reason you're great. It is 0% about you. They don't care at all. They don't care. 0% about you. It is 100% about them. You need to talk like 90% less in these things. Like, I don't care if you think you don't talk that much. Talk like 90% less than you're talking. Get a pen and write down what they're saying. I don't care if you're scribbling. It shows them that you're listening. Have eye contact. Look at them in the eyes and feel what they're saying. Don't be distracted. They know if you are listening or if you care based on the way you're looking at them, based on the way your eyes and your teeth and your facial expressions are acknowledging them as a human being. They're in the most vulnerable place of their lives. They've been let down for years. They don't know if you're going to help them. Don't rush to say what you want to say or ask a question that you want to ask. However, there can never be awkward silence. Because the moment there's some awkward silence, they're going to actually question whether or not you should be helping them do this. How you approach people is not because you want them to sign up and pay you whatever they... No, it's a genuine, sincere care to help the other person and be curious of what their struggles are and what they're going through. It should model a therapy session with a phenomenal therapist. A nod of the head on occasion, or a question to validate or to ask, or it should be very similar. If a therapist was to watch a video of your consults, they should be in awe of your skills, of what a great listener you are, of the way you tilt your head at certain moments, and how did you learn to do that? How did you know to do that? Because they've been spending their whole life on those skill sets, and you've probably spent 0 time on those skill sets. So you got to level that up. You have to earn their trust in a really short period of time. How is that? How do we do that? Think of a first date, right? You're in the dating world. That person will walk away from that first date either trusting you or not trusting you. You have to earn their trust in a really short period of time. How do you do that? Do the stuff I just said, right? Empathize, listen, eye contact, ask questions that help them open up. I don't care if they don't talk. That doesn't mean they don't talk. That just means you suck at this. Because they all talk. They all open up. They're yearning to open up. And if you're not good at this, you're not good at retention. I'll just put that out. Once you've kind of really established all these things, then with confidence and compassion, tell them what they need to do. If you try to do that too early, then go back and try to regain that trust. Or just chalk that up to a great training session for you on consults. Because ultimately, with confidence and compassion, you're going to tell them what to do. You're not going to ask them, you're going to tell them. They need your help. They would not have scheduled time in their day to meet with you. This is not like a Planet Fitness consult. They know what they're walking into. They see the environment. They understand what you do for a living. Like they know. It would be the equivalent of me walking in to a very nice restaurant and then being like, oh, wow, I didn't understand. I didn't think prices were going to be like this. That's not. They're meeting with you because they actually have already been shopping. But you know why a lot of times they say no is because you did not execute the first part very well at all. Okay, that's consults. Very quickly. Let's go to lead nurture, right? Let's go to actually following up. This is like 101 stuff, right? So this could be you're coaching on the floor and somebody walks in and you had the ability to just get their contact information real quick and you're like, I'll follow up with you. Or it could be like a lead that was given to you or a client was referring someone. Basically, somebody's name and contact information ended up with you. It could be somebody who actually maybe came in, you poorly executed the consult, so now they've become a lead. They said, I got to think about it. And so now you have their contact information. Somebody that you were going to nurture. So first and foremost, you got to reach out to them until they tell you to leave them alone. And don't be so sensitive. Don't let your feelings dominate why you don't follow up or why you don't continue to text them. Notice I preface this with why you would get their contact. In other words, you're not going up to strangers and saying, "Can I have your contact?" and then doing these things. These are people that actually came in, they actually were leads. Like they're real, like they raised, I like to say this, they raised their hand and they said, help me, right? Them not texting you back is, it should be like expected, right? But sometimes you're like, oh, my feelings, right? These days, guys, I get spam texts every day that like fill up my inbox. I'm going to probably get like 3 today on sales because my phone hears me talking about it. So I'm going to get like all these people want me to sign up for their gym, sales marketing platform. And so they're getting inundated with messages. You're just funneling to the bottom. Emails constantly. 10,000 things happening because of this great invention called the iPhone that has literally just pushed you down the priority list. And if you don't think to do the same thing again, like many times, that's why you're losing. You cannot quit. You cannot be so sensitive because you didn't get a text back after 5 reaches. How many times have you persisted with a person and finally, after X number of times, they say, they're working out with you now. Man, thanks so much for staying on me. On the flip side of that, how many people have you lost because you did not stay on them? You have to have relentless pursuit. You can't give up. And you have to be organized. Because going off your memory of when you last reached out to them is not good enough. You will forget. You will also become inundated with emails and other activities. So you need to have some way. It doesn't have to be at any cost. It can literally be notes, Google spreadsheet. I don't care. Just something to manage. I reached out to them on this date. This is the last time I reached out. I plan to reach out again. This and this and that. You have to have organization in that area of your life. Or all of you right now have like at least 10 people that you literally have given up on. And you would never say that. But you have. All of you. Every person in this room. Me included. So I'm not better than that. We all have 10 people right now, if we think really hard, that we have given up on. Why? Because we stopped freaking texting them and calling them. And actually, the sadder part of that is they're sitting in their lives right now very disturbed with the way they feel, and they're masking it with medication, baggy clothes, alcohol, because we gave up on them. That's the conviction. The reason I am really good at sales is because I care about them. The tagline at BoomFit is building better people. We believe that when you exercise, you become a better version of yourself, period. So it is my duty and our staff's obligation to keep you doing this or to get you started doing this. Because exercise is going to do something magical. It's truly magical. It's going to affect every area of your life. Most importantly, it's going to make you feel better about you, which then the energy that you bring into the environments that you're in is amplified. Okay, retention. Last one. I'm already almost at my time limit. Relationship is key. Relationship. I don't care how smart you are or what your programming is or whether you're doing a stiff leg deadlift on the third workout opposed to a Romanian deadlift because you want them to feel the hamstring. Is that right, Spencer? The stiff leg deadlift works the hamstring? Okay. I always got to check with Spencer. He's the brain in the three-part group that we have. I don't really care what your programming is, and I don't care the reason you program. And I don't even care what your meal plan is. If you're fasting, if you're, what is it now? Carnivore. Like basically Atkins turned into like 10 things that are all the same thing. But whatever diet prescription you have is literally meaningless, because if you don't build a relationship with your clients, you're like noise, like the whatever is going on out there. It's just noise. It's like not important to me right now because I'm fixated on each of you and you guys walking away with something that actually changes your life. It's just noise. That's what you sound like to your clients if there's no relationship.
So good.
This is not transactional. It's not transactional. You're not trading $135 for 1 hour of your time. It's not. If that's what you think, you've missed it. If you're selling 10 sessions for $95 per session or $60 per session, and if you're literally thinking they're buying $600 for 10 sessions with you, you are not going to be successful. Now, not forever, because things can happen, and you can have moments where I'm not judging you, but you have moments in time where things shift and you start looking at life differently and understanding that your behavior is the reason that you are where you are. You need to know their life. You need to know their business. You need to know their families. You need to know their weekend activities. You need to know what their goals are. You need to know what they like. You need to know what they don't like. You need to know everything about them. You should be able to write a paper about them. And it literally, when they read it, they're like, wow, like you really know me. Like I am somebody in your life that is very meaningful. Like that is why you're doing this. That relationship gives you the ability to coach them and help them on that nutrition plan and actually prescribe some workouts that might move the needle in their lives and in their fitness. All right, another exercise. Pull out your phone. I don't care what client it is. Pull out your phone, pick one client. Type their name in your messages, like text messages. And I want you in these next 25 seconds to see what it is, the text conversation that you've had with them in the last 3 days, 7 days, 5 days. It doesn't matter how many days. Just pick one client, I don't care who it is, who you work with. And I want you to read through the text messages. Now, as you're doing this, if there's no conversation, you suck at personal training or coaching. Like if there's zero dialogue, but except for like, I look forward to seeing you at 3 p.m. for our first workout on Monday. And that was like 3 months ago. If there's no, you guys know when you, what is it called when you actually hold down one of the messages and you heart it or you like it, depending on your trauma and past with love? If there's none of that, you suck. You have to build relationships, and relationships in 2024 goes beyond the time that you're spending together. It actually is doing life together, celebrating things together, speaking outside of that time. I'm going to highlight Brandon. He is the best at this. Brandon understands this better than any trainer, and I've had a ton of trainers who have worked for me over the years that has ever trained at BoomFit. And I would even argue that I've interacted with outside of BoomFit. His clients absolutely love him. It gives him, you guys heard of the word grace? And this is like, it's not like anybody would ever take advantage of this, but it gives him grace. Like his clients love him so much that it gives him grace. And I just say that in a lot of ways. It gives him grace. Because that's what's missing for you when it comes to retention. The reason they break up with you or stop training with you is because they don't give you grace. Because there's no relationship. Okay, I'm gonna wrap up now because I don't want to keep going on another long point. But last thing I'm gonna say. Be freaking valuable. Be worth it. Give them what they're paying for. Keep them working out. It is your calling and your duty. And if you're good at that, you don't even need to do consults because basically you're full and you stay full. When somebody signs up with me, I accept and they accept that we're in a relationship for the rest of our lives. So when they're off, they're just on a break because they're all coming back. They're all coming back. Be valuable. Be worth it. That's it. Okay.